America will never be the same at this point. It's moving in a different direction than the American people need it to go. Our economy is effectively leaving Americans behind. On the Capitol Hill, we see a pale horse, and upon that pale horse, we see the name, the big beautiful bill. And this might be a bit hyperbolic of a statement, and I understand that. But things have changed irrevocably in our country, in our culture, and the American people will suffer because of it. And this change is ushered in by cheers from throngs of supporters who don't understand the hardship that they're signing up for. For the longest time, the American economy has really moved in a direction away from the desires of the American people. And I think that this is self-evident as we see record profits happen for corporations, for the elite in our country, while at the same time, life is getting so much harder for everyone else who lives here. Whether you're lower class, whether you're working poor, working class, middle class, and now even upper middle class, there's a great amount of suffering that American people find themselves experiencing in our nation. And it's a suffering that is only going to grow as the direction that this ship is moving in changes. I think it's an understatement to say that American people have been deceived to believe that the changes that are being made on Capitol Hill right now, changes that are being made in the culture of our finances, are for their benefit, because they're truly not. There are things that keep us afloat, and there are programs that are designed to keep our heads just above water, while at the same time our pockets are being torn open and our possessions are being ripped away from us. Like I said, I know that this can sound a bit hyperbolic. I know that this can sound a bit extreme, but is it though? Is it though? Because the changes that have been made right now take away healthcare from millions of people. Take away accessibility of food from the poorest Americans, and make restrictions that those who are in desperate need have to fill before they can get any kind of help. Or if they are given help, it's only for a very short period of time. We always say that American people are just workers at this point. That's all they're seen as by our government, by our elites in our economy. They're not seen as people anymore. They're just workers who participate in a system where their sole job is to play a function. What they want to do in life doesn't matter anymore. And that's what we need to understand when we look at this change that's happening in our country right now, is that your identity doesn't matter anymore. Who you are as an individual doesn't matter anymore. It's simply what you can produce, what profits you can bring. Your family doesn't matter. Your life doesn't matter. Your wishes don't matter. If you want to work your way to early retirement, actually, this is a huge negative for our economy, because we need more workers. So we got to keep you in. There's a promise of tax cuts, but those tax cuts only benefit people in the highest levels of our economy. People in the highest levels of business. Those who are already situated on the top. And this bill solidifies the class structure and makes it near impossible. We can't just blame it on this bill. The decisions that have been being made as of late, the past few decades, I suppose, but ramped up even harder now, are ushering in the end of the era of class mobility. Your talent doesn't matter anymore. Only those who are kind of selected to move forward are really given that opportunity now. And I think it's a great shame. And I think that this isn't actually what Americans want. The picture that they've been painted of what's going to happen and what America is going to look like, they find themselves in that painting, but at the same time, they're not in it. They're just meant to look at it from the outside and then leave that museum, go back to work, clock in, and sit at your cubicle. You work to death now, and that's the expectation in our country. And while they say that these tax cuts help people who are making tips and help people who are using overtime, at the same time, the gains that the individual American citizen gets from these bills and these kind of changes are negligible because of the inflation that will come from it. And so when you see in the bill that the deficit is going to be elevated so much, this should just tell us that inflation is certain. And this is what we're going to be going through, and that recession is certain at this point. Economic hardship, financial hardship is a certainty for the American people in the foreseeable future. It's not anything that can be ignored. It's to be expected at this point. But this puts the rich in a position where it's not going to affect them. But it'll affect us, because it isn't the rich who will need to use food assistance. It isn't the rich who will lose their jobs and need Medicare. No, it's the working class. It's the people who are without, the people who live and have lived in scarcity. They're the ones who are going to be affected the most by this. When the jobs start getting cut, when prices start going up and people can't afford to feed themselves or feed their kids, the elderly can't buy their medication, they'll still be seen as leeches. They'll be seen as feeding off of society, because that is the culture now. The culture is one of producers and producers alone. But that's not how humanity works. And I don't think that that's how this country was meant to be. Free enterprise is one thing, but free enterprise without a soul is another. I do think that America is a great country, but now it's great and terrible. And I know a lot of people would argue that it's been that way for a long time. But for the American people, you've still been able to make a life, to have a good life. And perhaps that was just an anomaly in the timeline, right? Something that shouldn't exist in this continuum of humanity, But at the same time, we had it. We had it. You can retire at a decent age and live a good life off of a pension, off Social Security, and the economy would move forward. You can get health care if you needed it. Food banks would help you out. There's WIC, there's EBT, there's all these programs that would help you out if you're struggling, but now these are gone. We're seeing record numbers of people who need to use food banks, record numbers of people who need to use Medicare. And at this time where we're seeing record numbers and an increase, we're deciding to slash these programs. Doesn't seem like it's good for the American people. These cuts are only meant to pay for tax cuts to the wealthy. And it's so obvious. But so many people don't see it. And so many people don't see the kind of unfair position that we are signing up for and putting ourselves in. Our economy is broken. And it's not. And the economy that we know, that we need as American people, is broken. It's over, right? It's been torn in half and thrown into the ditch. And the new economy that's going to be built is one that moves away from the American people. It's one that leaves the American people behind, because it's one that doesn't serve the American people. And still, the construction of that new economy, what we're seeing is being met with great applause and support by those who will just be used as grist for the wheel of progress, the wheel of profit. It's a sad day. It's a sad day. It's a sad time. It's a sad time if you love this country. It's a sad time if you care about your fellow citizens. It's a sad time, is what it is. And it should make us angry. And in that anger, we should find a kind of resolute purpose that drives us to actually get the change that we need in this country, but still we will not. Because the suffering is guaranteed. The pain that Americans will feel will inevitably come, but seeing it coming, the car that's moving towards us at high speed, we're waiting to see if it's going to turn instead of actively getting out of the way. We're playing chicken with a bull, and that bull's coming right for us. And in our culture now, we see retribution on the other side as something that is desirable. It's something we want. And our government now is actively moving funds from blue states to red states, to put infrastructure in red states, take it away from blue states. These projects will get employment in these red states, and it will garner more support for more change that, again, doesn't actually help the American people. It works against us, and it's obvious that it works against us. It's obvious that all this is done and it's going to leave normal Americans behind. But still, we see ourselves in the individual culture that we have. We see ourselves as somehow above the person next to us. It's our potential. We're special. We deny the fact that community, that solidarity in people means something now. It's only solidarity in my tribe that means something. And when we win and we lash out against our opponent, it's only seen as just deserves for the unrighteous. Because we can't fool ourselves into believe that the kind of spirituality isn't in this new system, isn't in this new era of tribalism that is ubiquitous in our nation. No. The zealous nature of our tribal affinity, our culture now depends on it. That kind of bloodlust depends on it. It dissuades us from actually pursuing any kind of change while our economy leaves us behind. And how long can we exist as Americans under this new system where things keep moving away from us before they're so far away the American people cannot affect change, cannot vote in change? They're stuck. They're stuck to mire in the kind of hardship that has only been seen in third world countries, banana republics. How long until it's impossible to actually wrest that power back from those who've snatched it? I say not too long, and I don't think America will actually survive the future. I don't think America will survive this recession that's coming. I think Americans will survive, but America, as we know it, will not exist. Our country now doesn't feel like America. Not the America that I knew, not the America that I expect to exist, not the one that I signed up to protect. It doesn't feel right. It feels strange. And the people, and the anxiety that people feel in the day-to-day life, knowing that they have no control of this system around us, that's where we see that isolation is done on purpose. It's done to keep us without power, to keep us in a place where we can't actually change things. Because the division that's been sown in our country makes it impossible for community to exist. And the only real strength in our nation comes from a kind of community solidarity. And this is something that isn't just a recent thing. This goes back millennia, the time immemorial. A community with one singular purpose moving in one direction. It's very strong. It's hard to overcome. That's something that used to be and that's something that it's honestly necessary, not just for the community to exist, but for nations to rise and nations to thrive. There has to be a kind of common narrative and common direction that a country is going in. But our country has simply become the economy. The economy is what's worshipped in our country. The economy must be protected at all costs, no matter how much we sacrifice, no matter who falls behind, no matter who is punished, no matter who it breaks. This new economy is God, and the zealots are many. I like to think that there's still a way that we can move away from this. I like to think that there's still a way that the people can change things. But at the same time, we only have two parties, and both parties really seem to work in the same direction, right? The concessions that they'll make, the concessions that opposition will make, don't actually change the direction back towards one that's beneficial for the people. They'll simply make enough concessions that it quiets down the will of revolution, the will for change. But that great machine, that beast of our economy, will still continue to move in the direction that benefits the few. We don't have any real representation in our nation. We don't have any real representation. Where are the advocates of the American people in our own government? There are very few, and they're called traitors, communist, fascist. Virtue isn't lionized in this country. Profit generation is lionized as the kind of the core purpose of what it is to be an American and what it is to exist within our economy now. There's no benefit to anyone because it's not meant to benefit us. It's not meant to benefit us at all. It's meant to reap everything that we've sown. Like I said, I don't mean to be hyperbolic in the introduction, but I do feel like we've ushered into a new era that we cannot return from. Right? Something has changed fundamentally, not just in our economy, not just in our law, but in who we are as a people. And I think that it moves us into such a dark direction that people aren't ready for what's coming. The world isn't ready for the direction that we're going into. It's uncharted land, and it's dangerous. And a lot of people are going to suffer because of it. So, though a bit of hyperbole is used, I think it's necessary at this time because, yes, the pale horse of the economy, it's coming. And what follows it, I don't know. But what we can do in the meantime, solidarity as always. Get to know your neighbors, build bonds, build friendships, have barbecues, call politicians, write letters, get as involved as you can. If you just see protests as being a bunch of old people with signs, if you're young, then go. Make it young people with signs. Call for the change that you want, not just call for it, demand it. Confrontation has to be the key now. Silent protest means nothing anymore. Your voting doesn't really seem to mean anything anymore. You have to demand it. You have to demand it because in the culture that we have, the squeakiest wheel gets the oil. But we have to go beyond just asking for concessions while these things move forward. We have to demand the complete denial of the direction that we're moving into. And that means new representation. If anything, it just means new representation. These entrenched politicians who've been there for generations, they'll do nothing for us. It's time for them to go. We need new blood, radical blood. That's what we need. Because in this era of radicalism, only radicalism can actually steer this ship. Because if we have the kind of radicalism that we need to actually enact change in this country can be given back to the people. No, it can be taken back by the people because that's the only way this will happen now. Because the powerful don't give power away. And that's what people need to understand. Voting is asking. It is not demanding, it is not telling. At one point it may have been, but we've seen in any kind of incident where there seems to be voter fraud, any kind of incident where there seems to be someone messing with the elections, what happens? Nothing. No one actually cares. No one actually demands that things are corrected. No, they don't. Our country is soft. Its people are weak because we've lived soft lives, and that's what it comes down to. The kind of change that we need in our country cannot come from soft people. So we cannot allow ourselves to be soft anymore. We have to harden. We have to harden philosophically, morally. Like I said, it takes a kind of social consciousness and solidarity that we just don't seem to have right now. And so while I still have hope for our people in this country, at the same time, it's drowned out by the fact that I know that our people are so soft that they'll let a steamroller roll over them. And this steamroller is our economy, and it's going to destroy our people. It's going to destroy our people. But anyway, if you're still here at this point, hey, like and subscribe. Think about becoming a member. You know, we appreciate all the support. And if you have any comments, any agreements, disagreements, put them in the comments section. And anything else you want me to talk about, go ahead and put it in there. But hey, as always, we appreciate you. We appreciate everything you do for this channel, for my family. And I want to thank you, and see you next time.